By the time this video goes up, I should be in a cabin in upstate New York, eating lots of bagels and getting really tan. I'm staying in a cabin on a lake. Will I be murdered by Jason Voorhees? You'll find out if this is the last thing I ever post. What's up guys, it's V Renee. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Speaking of scary things, if you've ever read anything I've ever written, or if you've ever been on my Instagram, or if you've ever looked at me, you probably know that I like the creepy crawly things. What you might not know is I'm also a sucker for a kitschy, campy, highly stylized, classic teen high school girl clique movie. I love the campy, highly saturated world of those types of movies. In fact, a lot of my writing is actually more influenced by movies, especially those type of movies, than other books. And what I wanted to talk about today are the inspirations behind my WIP, Blood from a Stone. So without further ado, here are 3 movies, 3 books, and 3 songs that have inspired my WIP. The first movie is obviously The Craft. As a kooky, weird child who had a crush on both Skeet Ulrich and Neve Campbell, this movie spoke to my soul. I got called a witch in 8th grade because I have a different colored eye. That was by a teacher, not by a student. Needless to say, I felt very at home with the girls from The Craft. I was also obsessed with Charmed around the same time that I discovered The Craft. The Craft really still speaks to me as sort of plot inspiration because it involves, you know, a new girl with magical powers who goes to a school, finds magical girls who are like her, and then they get into some trouble and have a falling out. I mean, is that a major plot point in Blood from a Stone? I don't know. The second movie is Jennifer's Body, and this movie rocked my bisexual world the first time I saw it. The queer coding in Jennifer's Body is phenomenal. And I love that they take this sexist idea of a succubus, like the masturbatory idea, like once you put it in today's climate, it's like, oh yeah, that woman was so beautiful, of course she seduced you and it had nothing to do with you. Like, we'll just blame her for being beautiful. And they take that and totally flip it on its head. And of course, the whole premise, spoiler alert, minor spoiler alert, that Jennifer turns into this monster because of a sacrificial ritual gone wrong by a bunch of douchey band guys, is so poignant and speaks to me in a way that was really influential to this book. Like, if you violate me, I will murder you like the animal that you are, and I will turn into the monster that you're making me, and I'll still be beautiful and sexual and confident and all the things that I was before, but now I will have a fucking problem with you and you will pay for what you did to me, which is a huge theme in Blood from a Stone. I love the balance of tone that Jennifer's Body has too. She's on an unapologetic, brutal rampage against every guy who fucking looks at her wrong or doesn't even do anything to her. Really, it's, you know, not all men. It's like, yes, all men. And it's also really heartbreaking when Needy and Jen's really toxic friendship starts to break down, and Needy still tries to be there for her. And again, the queer coding, chef's kiss. And number 3 is Jawbreaker. What a deliciously insane movie that is. I have multiple characters in Blood from a Stone who draw direct inspiration from reigning sociopath Courtney Shane from that movie. And y'all know I love a girl gang, and just like any good high school story, the girls from Blood from a Stone end up becoming a girl gang of sisters, but they start most girls in those types of movies and stories start, which is at odds. And I love, you know, I love a girl gang, but I also love a little bit of backstabbing toxicity, which is exactly what Jawbreaker is. Plus, you know, they bring an outsider into the fray and make them one of them in order to have a scapegoat for their wrongdoings, and also to cover up things they've already done. And I don't know, that might be important in Blood from a Stone or something. Now we're on to books, and the first book that I want to bring up that inspired a lot of Blood from a Stone is Daughters of Eve by Lois Duncan. This book follows 10 or so girls in a backwards ass Midwestern town where women are still treated like second-class citizens. It's literally time traveling to the 50s in this book, and they join a society at their school called the Daughters of Eve, which is run by a city slicker, single, older woman who basically tells them they don't have to put up with that shit anymore. And after something happens to one of the girls and has to do with a couple of the other girls, they decide that they need to seek vigilante justice on every man who looks at them wrong. And sometimes it ends up great and sometimes it does not. But the whole attitude behind it had a lot to do with why I wanted to write my own like vigilante justice story. And there is an incident in Daughters of Eve with Peter that directly, like, I practically plagiarized it at the beginning of a sequence for the second name on the list in Blood from a Stone. The second book I want to mention is Slice of Cherry by Dia Reeves, and Blood from a Stone was originally much more psychopathic, murderous rampage, codependent, descent into madness type of story. Thanks to this book. This book follows two girls who are the daughters of a famous serial killer. They live in a world called Portero, where monsters and magic are about as unavoidable as like the heat in Texas, where they are. And they start to do what's in their blood, and they have a really fucked up relationship. And honestly, like, that was something I really enjoyed reading and wanted to explore a little bit more. And it was basically like this book plus American Horror Story Coven, which is the third season of American Horror Story. Those and the Legend of the Casket Girls of New Orleans, those were the three original like mashup ideas for Blood from a Stone. Obviously it's evolved a lot from there. And the third book that inspired Blood from a Stone is The Merciless Two by Danielle Vega, although I think she goes by Rollins now. Whoo, the setting of that book, the juicy, juicy setting of that book, the isolation, the supernatural trickery, the crown jewel head boy losing his goddamn mind, the descent, the spiral into madness. It's all so clearly an influence on Blood from a Stone. I can't even say more than that about The Merciless Two because it will spoil both the first Merciless and that book, The Merciless Two. But I suggest reading that entire series. It was fantastic, and The Merciless Two actually had a lot to do with why I revamped from Slice of Cherry-esque type of murderous rampage, psychopath, codependency to more of a high school-y type of story. And now we're moving on to songs. For the first time ever writing a book, I have theme songs, specific clear theme songs for all 5 of the main girls, and I also have specific theme songs for each of the 3 acts that the book kind of falls into. Obviously, I had lots of songs that inspired the Thistlewolf trilogy. I did blogs on Accidental Evils and Civil Blood. You can check those out. And I have a huge playlist for this book as well. I have to write to music. I'm very inspired by music and lyrics. Music is a huge part of my past and my life, and I connect like really strongly with music. I know a lot of people do. But I never really I had multiple songs that inspired certain parts of Civil Blood and multiple songs that inspired certain parts of Accidental Evils, but there are 3 main songs that stick out to me when I look at my Blood from a Stone playlist and think about the acts and how they sort of take place. These songs are very influential to those different acts. And Act 1 is Crimson and Clover by Joan Jett. I love this song. This song makes me feel butterflies. This song reminds me of, again, in a teen movie when you see the love interest walking down the hallway in slow motion. This song is playing. Both iterations of it. The original is by Tommy James and the Shandells. That is on my Civil Blood playlist because to me, that version is sung from River's perspective. But if you didn't know, Blood from a Stone is gay as hell. And so, 1983, Joan Jett singing about how she loves this girl, because she didn't switch those pronouns, not even in 1983. She was a bad bitch, okay? It gets me butterflies. It really makes me feel like I'm in, Thea's shoes, and I am seeing the person that she sees that ends up becoming her love interest, no spoilers, for the first time. The song for Act 2 is Seashore by The Regrets, and man, do I love these teen dream badass girls. They are like 16, 17, 18 years old. This is the first song I ever heard of theirs. It is so good. It is just, the song is just endlessly quotable because it's all about how, like, because they're teenage girls, men treat them like they're stupid. The whole song is just about, like, I'm not a child, I'm not helpless, like, stop talking to me like I'm an idiot, stop talking to me like I'm emotional, stop talking to me, like, stop acting like this to me. And it's done in, like, a doo-wop-y way, of, like, a teen beach guitar, like, fun party way. And the tone and her voice sounds so fucking fed up, and then behind her it's just like doo-doo, doo-doo.
Well, at least I'm not 6 feet in the dirt, and I'll still kick your ass even in my skirt.
And then the song for Act 3 is White Boy by Bikini Kill, and this is where we get into the not so fun, icky, sticky, bad parts of the book. And this song, for the first 20 seconds, is just rape culture in a nutshell, and then it's followed up by the recount of a sexual assault, so content warning for the first, like, 45 seconds of White Boy. But it also has this really powerful line that I relate to a lot, and that I felt really deeply resonated with my characters. And it's really powerful if you think about it from the perspective of a teenage girl, because it's like everything that teenage girls do is wrong. Everything that teenage girls like is basic or not cool or not, it means nothing, and that's why young adult novels always get shat on all the time, and that's why you can't like a pumpkin spice latte or fucking Ugg boots, because teenage girls like them, and if teenage girls like something, it's stupid. And teenage girls are always shat on, they're always looked down on, they're always treated as a joke. And I love that line because it's just like, I still feel that way as a 24-year-old woman. And we're gonna do one bonus thing, which is a television show, which is, of course, American Horror Story, Coven. I was a big fan of American Horror Story from the beginning, but Coven shaped my attitude and my life a little bit more than I care to admit. As someone who was already obsessed with New Orleans, Stevie Nicks, anything witchy, Southern Gothic vibes, American Horror Story, Wearing Black, Kathy Bates, vigilante justice, dismantling the patriarchy. When that show came out in 2013, it rocked my fucking world. This show has a lot to do with the original concept of Blood from a Stone changing. It was originally like a new adult college set story where the girls who turned into Thea, Ariel, Celeste, Lizette, and Val were all roommates thrown together in like an apartment, and the inciting incident happened on Bourbon Street. They lived on St. Charles Ave. During winter break, like, the inciting incident happened to them, and Coven, with the boarding school feeling that it had a lot to do with me wanting to make it a little bit younger set and come back to YA because I liked the idea of the boarding school aspect of it. So I ditched the New Orleans, but I brought the boarding school. So changed the setting, but sort of aged it down. Now, don't get me wrong. I've said before, Blood from a Stone is a little bit more kitschy, and Coven is a little dark. Coven's actual like aesthetic and tone is much more Thistlewolf than it is actually Blood from a Stone. But the influences on me as a person that Coven had are evident in everything that I do. Just wait till you see the mock-ups for the cover of Blood from a Stone, and you will understand that Coven is in my blood. And that's gonna complete this video today, guys. I'm sorry about the changing light. Again, we were having a major rainstorm that turned into the sun just being directly behind me and in front of me. It was a lot, and now it's getting dark. So in the meantime, I make new videos every single Wednesday, and I will see you next Wednesday.